Welcome back to Is the Quran True? Part 3.
Besides, about 450 years before Muhammad, Galen wrote that embryos develop in stages. And Galen was very well known in Arabia at the time of Muhammad. Miracle shmiracle. Oh, by the way, the Quran also says that semen is produced between the backbone and the rib. So I'd be a wee bit hesitant about using the Quran as a medical textbook.
Janet, okay, you've said enough about your response to Arthur's views. I'm going to give you time for your two best arguments as to why you feel that the Quran is not true.
Alright. First, there are a ton of internal contradictions in the Quran, and, second, the Quran is filled with scientific errors, including a math error. First, contradictions. They are all over the Quran. Example, one verse says that one day to Allah is 1,000 years to humans. Then, another verse says it's one day to, not 1,000 but 50,000 years. Another contradiction. The ingredients that are used to make a human. One verse says that humans were formed from a spot of blood, another says from clay, another from dust. Another verse says humans were made from nothing, and yet another says from a drop of sperm. Jeesh. Make up your mind. Third contradiction. In one part of the Quran, it says that God drowned Pharaoh. But in another part, it says that God chose to not drown Pharaoh, and instead let Pharaoh live.
Janet, you are showing your willful blindness here. Each of these so-called contradictions can be easily explained. For example, the ingredients, as you call them, for a human. If somebody says that you need 3 eggs to bake a cake, and then later says that butter is also needed, is that a contradiction?
But the Quran doesn't say that blood is one of the ingredients of a human. It says man was created out of a clot of blood. Big difference. Besides, clay? Humans are created out of clay? Manifestly not true, and also, this thing about clay is just a repeat of what traditions even more ancient say about human origins.
The Quran is not referring to literal clay, and you know it. Besides, recent experiments have shown that crucial components for the origin of life could have been introduced to one another by a lump of clay.
Oh please. First you say that something you don't like shouldn't be taken literally? And then, in the same breath, you give a crazy explanation for how it could be literal?
Janet, let's move on to your claim that there are scientific mistakes in the Quran.
Okay. Believers say that the Quran is perfect, so even one example of an error would be a knockout punch. But you want 3 examples, right?
No. You're taking too much time. You get 2 examples.
Fine. Number 1. The Quran says that Alexander the Great traveled west until he found the spot where the sun sets. He found the sunset all right, in a spring of murky water. But, news flash. The earth is actually round, and as it turns out, the sun does not set in a spring of murky water,